We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Jonathan. The Journal of Acoustical Society of America published a study in which they measured 283 different headphones. They identified, I did not read this, I read the abstract. They identified 3 different headphone types: over-ear, on-ear, and in-ear. Well, so far the research is going smashingly. And a wide range of price points were included. The olive and welty target curve provided by Harman Research was used along with an ITU standardized dummy head and ear canal. So this is how they measured. They have a dummy head with a carved out whatever ear canal, and they put microphones inside the ear canal.
The dummy head.
So and they put the headphones on the thing, and then they measured it.
And then Sean Olive and Todd Welty over at Harman, they've done a bunch of research. What they basically did is they took some known, very accurate speakers, probably the M2s from JBL Pro,
right?
Played sweeps from those in a real room and measured what the response was inside the dummy head's ear canal. And they're like, that's what an accurate speaker in a good listening room should look like on a graph when the measurement is taken from inside the ear. Then they use that compared to headphones, again with the microphones inside the ear, and said, okay, what should the headphone response actually be? Because it's not a flat line, right? You don't get just a flat linear line from a flat linear signal. There's some ups and downs because your ear canal completely changes the frequency response shape. So like, as long as the frequency response inside the ear canal is similar between the good speakers in a good room and the headphones, that should sound quite similar to our ear. And that's more or less what the research said. So this study is saying, okay, we think that research is good and well done, so we're going to use their target curve as the target we're trying to achieve, as that would be an accurate headphone as far as the study is concerned.
It's a little bit of a problem with that, but we'll go on. The study concluded that there was no correlation between the price of a given headphone and how closely it matched that target curve, the Olive and Welty curve. Although more expensive headphones tended to have less variance in the bass. On-ear headphones were all over the place, on-ear, while over-ear and in-ear were a little bit more consistent, and in-ears tended to produce louder bass on average than either over or on-ear. But again, price pretty much had nothing to do with any of it. Jonathan was not surprised at all to see plenty of expensive headphones that did not match the curve well, but he was surprised that quite a few cheap headphones weren't too far at all from the target curve, and the in-ears generally having louder bass also came as no surprise to Jonathan. So what do we think? Do we think this study is useful or trustworthy? Okay.
Well, I mean, we know just straight up that there are plenty of headphone manufacturers of all price ranges that are not even aiming for an accurate sound. That's not their goal. They're like, we want more bass than is actually accurate to the signal. Or we want a smiley face curve so that you get lots of bass and lots of treble. Or we want a hump in the mid-range so that voices really stand out.
V-Moto is a perfect example, too.
Yeah.
Well-designed headphones, well-made, bulletproof. The dude who owns the company, who we interviewed on this podcast, he knows what he likes, and he wants to make headphones that he likes. Well, it's not a flat curve. That's not this. The one thing that jumped out at me when I was reading this description here is that they went with the curve that was used with that basically was used with a different dummy head. It's not the same ear canal, right? The same shape.
I don't know if it was the same dummy head that was used at Harman that they used in this study. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would say. That's the first thing that jumps out at me is like, if it's not the same dummy head, then using the same target curve, they should have taken whatever head, and really they should have taken, even if it was the exact same head, they should have taken that dummy head, put it in a really good room, run a frequency sweep, and use that. Because who knows what could have changed over time with this thing, dust or something in there, who knows. It shouldn't have made any difference, but who knows. They should have done that. Or they should have at least done a comparison with like a control, basically taken that head, put it in a good room, put it through, and say, yes, it's very close to this Olive and Welty curve, therefore we feel confident using it.
they didn't say that, but maybe they did.
Maybe.
We're not can't say for sure either way.
Yeah. I'm not surprised at all. I mean,
Oh, no.
we've experienced this thing over and over and over again, where we see headphones that we are constantly surprised are so well. And yes, sometimes I think it's absolutely by design, and sometimes I think it's total luck. I think there's so many headphones. I'm not joking. There's so many headphones out there that somebody's gonna take a off the shelf, driver, throw it in a plastic enclosure that's just, whatever, and sell it for $20, and everybody's gonna be like, wow, this sounds really good. And they're like, really? It does? Oh, good. And then they, then it doesn't last, for one reason or another. They have to change the driver, or maybe that batch of drivers was really good, but the next batch wasn't so good. All of that. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be they didn't really say it outright, but sort of just interpreting the way it was written, this almost assumption that if you're buying more expensive headphones, you, the purchaser, wants a more technically accurate sound. Because over at Harman, their conclusion was the closer you are to an accurate frequency response, in other words, a speaker that measures extremely linearly in an anechoic chamber, so it's true to the signal, and then you bring it into a good listening room that is not completely devoid of reflections, but one that doesn't have certain frequencies ringing way longer than others or something. So you put it into a good room, and in general, that's what listeners prefer, right? But to me, it's no surprise that isn't what every headphone manufacturer is aiming for at all. I'm like,
and not only that
to me is an odd assumption to make, that is the goal, because I really don't think it is the goal on purpose.
Within manufacturers, they all have different lines whose whole
different
job, whose job it is to sound different from other things that they've made.
If everyone sounded the same, then why would you choose one over the other?
That's right. Absolutely. And like Beats by Dr. Dre or whatever. I guess it's not by Dr. Dre anymore. But Beats, their goal was to make a headphone that looked good.
Yeah. Which doesn't really, but
well, it looked good enough. It was iconic enough that people wanted it, and we had lowercase letters on every single headphone that was out there for a long time. We're getting away from it now, but I still see tons of people with Beats, tons of them. So I don't know. Okay, he asked me if we think this study is useful or trustworthy. I think it's trustworthy enough. I mean, I'm comfortable. I read it.
I mean, as long as you understand what they were comparing.
Do I think it's useful? It's not really. It's like,
well, it's confirming something we essentially already knew. Right?
I mean, it's just not really all that useful, though. It's like, not all headphones sound the same. It is useful
in the sense of if someone just says more expensive headphones are always better than less expensive, well, you have to define what better is. In this case, they're saying closer to the Harman target curve. That is something I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
Like I might like that because I like a very accurate, neutral, transparent sound, but that isn't everybody's preference.
No. Yeah.
So that's But it's true. You can't. I will absolutely agree. If we believe this study, and I do, you can't just say more expensive. Definitely, you're going to like it more.
No, I don't.
That is completely not the case.
No, because you can spend a lot of money on a lot of things that aren't nearly as good as things you can spend less money on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've shown that time and time again with a ton of stuff. TVs are a perfect example, man. You can spend a lot of money on a TV, and it's not going to be nearly as good as something you spend less on. Projectors are the same. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.